one topic that a lot of pregnant women usually tell me is more difficult than giving birth is breastfeeding, because it is very confusing. Most mothers will have the doubt whether my baby is gaining enough weight, is my baby getting enough milk, how do I ensure that my baby is drinking properly. So many different doubts and questions when it comes to breastfeeding. So in this video, let me break down 3 important topics that mothers usually get confused with when it comes to breastfeeding. That is, 1, how to ensure that the baby is opening their mouth properly and drinking enough milk. How do you hold your baby and breastfeed your baby? And finally, what are the common difficulties you can face when you are breastfeeding your baby? So this is going to be a mini breastfeeding masterclass. So just stay tuned till the end so that you can get all the information that you need. Hi, I'm Saranya, the founder of Babypedia. I'm a pregnancy coach and a life coach for mothers. So now let us come to the most important topic, that is breastfeeding. So a lot of times what happens is women or mothers are prepared for pregnancy. We want to know how baby gains weight. Is the baby growing well? Why am I gaining too much weight? I don't want to get gestational diabetes. And then we also prepare for birth, saying, I want to have a vaginal birth. I want to have it quick. I don't want to experience too much discomfort. Or if I have to go for a C-section, then what do I do? But one topic that we miss learning about is breastfeeding. We think it is very natural, to breastfeed a baby. So as soon as a baby is born, we take the baby, put the baby to the breast, and the baby will start to breastfeed quickly. But it is not so for many mothers. Yes, there are a lucky few who have no hassles when it comes to breastfeeding. It's a very easy journey for them. But many mothers still struggle with breastfeeding. And with postpartum, all the pain, the aches, almost as if a lorry ran over your full body, you are experiencing recovery, sleepless nights, there's a crying baby. Breastfeeding can cause a lot of stress for new mothers. So let us first talk about the very first topic when it comes to breastfeeding, that is latch of a baby. So anytime you feel any pain when you are breastfeeding, or you feel like the baby is not drinking enough milk, baby is very restless after a feed, baby is not urinating properly, then the first thing that you will have to check is whether the baby is latching well. So what is a latch? A latch is essentially how your baby is opening their mouth, attaching onto your breast and starting to drink milk. Before we talk about latch, I want you to understand one very important point. That is, babies do not feed from the nipple, they feed from the breast. That is why it is called breastfeeding. If your baby is holding only onto your nipple and sucking, it can cause a lot of pain for you. Baby will not be able to transfer enough milk for them to feel satisfied and gain weight. So baby should essentially be opening their mouth and latching on to your areola, which is the dark part that is surrounding your nipples, and not the nipple alone. Okay, they don't have to take the full areola, how much ever they can. So let's say half, 3/4, depending on the size of your areola and the size of the baby's mouth. Now, how do you ensure that the baby is latching properly? What are some signs? So sign number 1, it should not be painful for the mother. Yes, initially when a baby is very hungry, the first few sucks can feel like a pulling pain, but after that it should not pain. After you finish feeding your baby, you should not be feeling any burning, any painful blisters on your nipple. Your nipple should not have any sores that is pink or bleeding. Okay, if you experience any sort of pain during or after feeds, between feeds, it means that your baby is not latching properly. The next thing is, when you look at the baby is just very quickly nibbling throughout the feed. It most likely means that your baby is not getting proper milk and is not latching properly. Their urine count is less than 7 in 24 hours after 1 week of their birth. Then it also means that your baby is not getting enough milk and their weight gain is not going good. They do not regain their birth weight within 15 days, and after that it should be increasing. If that does not happen, it is another sign that your baby is not latching properly and getting enough milk. So how to ensure that your baby is latching properly? Let me give you a couple of tips. Tip number 1, always when you bring your baby to the breast, ensure that, one thing that we commonly do is keep the mother's nipple to the baby's mouth. Yes, but instead of doing that, keep the mother's nipple towards the baby's nose. Okay, so what happens when the nipple is pointed towards the nose? The baby will want to open their mouth wide, so they will push the head back a little and open their mouth wide. Okay, so when they do that, the chances of them opening more widely, and then when you gently nudge your baby towards your breast and they hold on to your breast, there's a high chance that they take more of the breast than only the nipple. Okay, so always remember, nipple to nose, end to end, and not nipple to mouth. So it's okay for the baby to lean a little backward while feeding. It's absolutely okay. It gives them more space for their nose, so they're breathing well as well, right? So now, once you put the nipple to the nose, tickle the nose, the baby pushes back, opens their mouth wide. What you have to do is gently keep your hand on the baby's shoulder and bring the baby towards you so that the baby holds onto your breast and starts to feed. When the baby is feeding, you should not feel any pain. And when you look, initially when the baby is very hungry, they will be feeding very quickly. But after the initial hunger, let's say 1 minute or so, your baby should go into a proper suck swallow pattern, which would look something like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, and a break to swallow the milk that they have gotten. Another few sucks and then a break. Okay, so this is called the suck swallow pattern. Sometimes it may feel like your baby is sleeping, closing their eyes and sleeping and not drinking properly, but I just want you to notice their mouth movement. There should be no hollow in their cheeks when they are doing couple of sucks and then a break for them to swallow what they have been drinking, right? So this is a sign that your baby is getting enough milk and is latching properly. Now let's jump to the next. How do you hold your baby or breastfeeding positions, right? So there are multiple positions that you can just Google and you can find out. Let me just break down a couple of them, right? Cradle hold is the most common one. This is what you would have been taught by your nurses or the doctor in the hospital when you were getting discharged. So a cradle hold is essentially where if you are going to be feeding your baby from the left breast, you hold the baby in your left hand with the head cradled in your elbow. Now this is a very comfortable position, but if you are having latching issues, it gives you very less control to be able to bring your baby towards you when their mouth is wide open. So instead of the cradle hold, what I recommend for mothers who have a lot of breastfeeding problems is using the cross cradle hold, which is essentially where if you are feeding from your left breast, you are going to be holding your baby with your right hand. Okay, so you are going to have your hand onto the baby's shoulder, not the head, onto the baby's shoulder, with 2 fingers pressed against their head gently to give them little support. When you hold the baby's head, baby will have a reflex to push back and they will not be focused on feeding. So I want you to just place 2 fingers for support, the rest on the shoulder, right? And hold the baby and bring the baby towards you. This gives you more control over how your breast is, how you can, holding your breast, and how well your baby is moving and latching correctly. So when you are doing the cross cradle hold or any other type of hold, another thing that you can do is hold your breast. So just hold on to your breast and press it so that it compresses the surface area of the breast. If the baby's mouth is like this, you hold the breast like this. If the baby is lying sideways, then the mouth is going to be up and down. So you hold your breast from underneath, not near the nipple, a little away from the areola, and compress it like a sandwich so it flattens a little, so the baby is able to hold on to the areola more easily, right? The third common hold is called the football hold, a great position if you are feeding multiples, if you are feeding after C-section, or if you have big breasts and have difficulty latching. So this is essentially where you are holding the baby like how rugby players or football players hold the ball under their hand, right? So the baby's head is going to be here and the baby is going to be in between your side and your hand, right? So this is called a football hold. So what this does is it gives you more control over holding your breast, looking down and helping the baby latch. And after a C-section, baby does not kick against your stitches, giving you much more freedom and more comfort when you are feeding the baby, right? So you can place pillows, place the baby on top, and you can sit comfortably and feed your baby. And when you are feeding multiple babies, twins or triplets, you can feed 2 babies at the same time by holding them like this, right? And the final most common hold is a sideline. Now this has a lot of controversy with people saying, you should not feed while lying down because it is not recommended. But when we look logically, what essentially happens is that in any position that the mother is, the cradle, cross cradle, football, or lying down, the baby is essentially lying down. But the risk factor with the mother also lying down and feeding the baby is that the mother can fall asleep, the mother may crush the baby may be lying too flat, so any milk that is excess milk that is leaking can enter the ear. So some precautions that you will have to follow is ensure that even if you're taking a quick nap, you do not roll over the baby. Second, place your hand under the baby's head or a pillow to keep it a little elevated so that the baby does not get any milk into their nose, right? And always initial days when the baby is very small, there should be somebody else, a caretaker with you, to ensure that you don't sleep or crush the baby, or to ensure that they take the baby and burp the baby after every feed. So these are the common positions that are used by mothers nowadays, right? Now let's come to the common difficulties that you may be experiencing. Difficulty number 1 is sore or painful nipples. So now that is a sign that the baby is not latched deeply but only onto the nipple. So like I told you in the first part of the video, try to latch your baby more deeply, right? The second difficulty is engorgement. This usually happens around after day 3 or day 4 when your mature milk comes in. Your breasts are feeling heavy, breasts are leaking milk. Sometimes it can be painful, especially if the baby is sleeping for 3 to 4 hours at a stretch and you are not feeding. So when the breasts are heavy and a little painful to touch, what you can do is do not express too much of milk. Just compress your breast and remove 5 to 10 ml of milk. That's more than enough. If the areola becomes soft and you are feeling comfortable, that's enough, because the more milk you remove, the more milk is going to be produced and it will lead to more engorgement, right? And as soon as your baby wakes up and it's time to feed the baby on the breast that is more engorged first, and then you can feed on the other breast. The third thing that can happen during breastfeeding is when there is a blocked milk duct, which can lead to other complications as well. So this is when you wake up and you feel like there's a hard spot on your breast where there's a lot of milk pooling up. This is because there are multiple tubes or milk ducts that come from the breast towards the nipple, and when one of it is blocked, then it can cause this painful lump sort of a hard part in your breast. So what you have to do is a lot of warm compress and then push from behind, massage your breast and then push from behind the hard surface towards the nipple, pushing the blocked milk out. Okay. Also feed your baby more frequently. Now this milk duct is not going to get unblocked within one feed. It may take a day, couple of feeds, but keep persevering, because if you don't take care of it within 1 or 2 days, it can lead to mastitis, which is where you will get fever. There's a lot of inflammation inside the breast and you may have to go to your doctor and get antibiotics. And if that also does not solve the duct, what will happen is it will lead to abscess, which will then need to be surgically cut and drained, which is going to be painful for you. So please try to resolve it when it is a blocked milk duct itself. So these are the common doubts that mothers have when breastfeeding a baby. Let me finish off by telling what are the signs that your baby is getting enough milk. Sign number 1, your baby is urinating minimum 7 times in a period of 24 hours. That is like after 1 week after birth. Till they are exclusively breastfeeding, it should be 7 plus urine counts. The second sign is your baby is feeling satisfied and sleeps a little better after a feed. The third sign, your baby is gaining weight. So some months the weight gain will be high, some months it will be low. That's absolutely okay as long as they are gaining weight. Just remember this mantra: your baby has to approximately, on an average, double their birth weight by 6 months and triple their birth weight by 1 year. That is how the graph should be. A little dip and an increase during the upward graph is absolutely okay. So I hope this video gave you a lot of information about breastfeeding. So happy breastfeeding. If you have any doubts, feel free to comment below and I will try to answer it. Take care. I will see you soon in another interesting video. Till then, this is Saranya signing off. Bye-bye.